In this video, I will show how I was able to hang a floating shelf in a concrete wall. The tools I will use for this project is a power drill with a Phillips and a masonry bit, a torpedo level, a tape measure, a pencil, a hammer, and 6 expansion anchors with 6 screws. This particular floating shelf has a metal bracket that attaches to the wall and 2 arms that the shelf slides over. Once the shelf is slid over, the bracket recesses behind the shelf, giving the illusion that the shelf is floating off the wall. This bracket had very large openings for the screw holes. I had to get screws that had extra big heads so that they would not slide through when mounting this to the wall. For this application, I used plastic expansion anchors with a drill bit to drill holes. You drill a hole into the concrete wall just wide enough and deep enough for the anchor to sit properly without forcing it in. After it's sitting in the hole, a screw is inserted, and this expands the outside of the anchor so that it jams itself into the wall, giving it its holding ability. There is a particular drill bit called a masonry or concrete bit. You can tell the difference in this bit from others by the shape of its head. It looks like an arrow. This is the only type of drill bit that will successfully drill holes in concrete. For this shelf, I use my chin or the top of my head to determine where I would like to see it. First, I started off by measuring the shelf with the mounting bracket inserted into the back. By doing so, I was able to measure from the outside of the shelf to the center hole of the bracket. This is the measurement I'll use to get the center where I will be drilling my first hole. Using that measurement, I can measure off the wall because I want the shelf to be as close to the wall as possible without touching the wall. I'll add a 1/2 inch onto this measurement. This will ensure that the shelf will slide onto the bracket without getting jammed against the wall or scratching the wall during installation. Now I'm just going to mark around 6 feet high. I like to use a piece of tape or even mark the drill with a magic marker the depth that the screw is for these drop-in anchors. This ensures that after the hole is drilled and the anchor is inserted, that the screw can actually sit all the way in without pulling the anchor out of the wall. Now I have my first mark on the wall. As you can see on the right, this was my original mark. The one on the left is my 1/2 inch added. I did this to illustrate where the first mark would have been. As I'm drilling this hole, I would pull the drill out of the hole and push it back into the hole. This allows for dust and the concrete material to be pulled out of the hole. This is especially helpful if you do not have a hammer drill to drill these holes. After I've made the proper depth for the hole, I can slide the anchor in now, give it a little tap with the hammer, and it's ready for a screw. On floating shelves, I normally have 2 holes on the brackets and 2 holes on one side of the shelf. These holes are used for screws that will hold the shelf onto the bracket and stop it from sliding back and forth. I decided that I wanted these holes to face up because my shelf is going to be higher than my eyesight and I don't want to be able to see the screws from the bottom when installed. I'll ensure that it is facing up before I mount the bracket to the wall. Now I have my center hole that I can attach the bracket to the wall. I'll take my first screw and snug the bracket to the wall, just enough where I can still maneuver the bracket up and down without scratching the wall. Now I'll use a torpedo level and level out the bracket. The bracket acts as a template for this. I will be using 6 drop-in anchors for this application. After I've marked my holes, I can take down the bracket. Now I have my marks on the wall. I'll start here with the center hole just above the first, and you can see here I'll tap the drill bit in and out, so that the material comes out of the hole, leaving enough room for the anchor to sit snug. I'll go ahead and drill the rest of the holes out with my marks. Again, working the drill bit in and out so that the dust is removed from the hole so the anchors can sit properly. Now I'll insert my expansion anchors into the holes I just drilled. And to make sure they are snug, I'll tap them lightly with a hammer and run my hand across and everything feels nice. Now my bracket is ready to be mounted permanently. I'll ensure that the 2 holes that hold the shelf from sliding back and forth are faced up. And now I'll insert all the screws into the anchors. I'll use my torpedo level to make sure that everything is level. Looks good. Now I'll line up the 2 holes to the 2 arms that extend out from the brackets to ensure that there is plenty of room for the shelf to slide on without getting jammed to the side of the wall or scratching the wall or the shelf. Here's a view from the bottom. You can see that the shelf has plenty of room off the wall. After the arms are inserted to the holes of the shelf should slide on with ease. I'll take the level one last time. The little bubble is in between the lines. This looks good. Now I'll put the 2 screws on top that hold the shelf from moving back and forth off the arms. As I insert these screws, I'll lightly move the shelf back and forth, make sure that the screws are sitting properly in the holes for the bracket. Now my shelf is ready to display all my toys. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.